Hey guys, welcome to today's video. Today I'm opening a WWE Heroclix Kane figure. We're going to pop this open and talk about it. This is one of my favourite of the WWE Heroclix, and I think it's going to be one of my most used, probably rivaled only by Andre. And there's a number of reasons that I'll get into during the video, but I think generally Kane just sort of comes off with this kind of thing better, doesn't he? Like in toys and stuff, Kane always comes off best. He's a very toyetic character, I guess. As you can see here, the box is like absolutely battered, unlike the Eddie Guerrero one. So we're going to crack this open and get that card in a top loader as quickly as we can. But yeah, we got the packaging. As you can see, we've got the lovely Kane sculpt, and then on the back we got the picture of Kane. More or less everything to be said about that. So okay, let's get him open. Trying to be. Oh, I've just realised there's actually a big hole right there. You can see here that the plastic where it's dented in, it's actually touching the pyro, and these things are usually quite sort of fragile in Heroclix, so you know that's cutting it very, very close there. But yeah, anyway, so let's get into him. Okay, so we've got the back card off. Just pop that over there, looking pretty in the background. We've got the possibly the most wrecked Heroclix card I've ever seen, but I mean, there is a lot of competition for that due to them insisting on doing things like these and the gravity feeds. Of course, you get a lot of very badly damaged cards, but this one is pretty badly damaged. In fact, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go get a top loader for it right now before we even read through it, because you know, that's just ridiculous, man. Okay, so that's a lot better. I think this card was going to be like messed up anyway, but you know, the denting to the box has certainly not helped. So yeah, we'll just put that to the side and take a quick look at the actual figure. It's a very interesting sculpt, this. Kane pose is a little bit the pose is a little bit rubbish in my eyes. I think, as weird a criticism as this is, I feel like it would have been better if he had like his elbows pointed, like if he was actually doing the point of his pose where he had his his hands pointed towards his head. I think that would have looked better. But I guess this is kind of posed so that he's set off the fire and his arms are coming back down now, I guess. So it does kind of make sense, but I don't personally think it looks amazing. However, I think the sculpt detail looks pretty amazing. So we got the corner post there, which is a very nice inclusion, and obviously the flame coming off it. It's very interesting, it's very cool. The Kane, I've just realised, is actually very, very, very close to falling off the edge of the actual base there, which is interesting. You know, he's standing right on the edge there, man. Well, I guess there's only so much room on there. Turn him on his first click. But yeah, it's a very cool sculpt. It's interesting to finally get this sort of era, like this strap attire of Kane's in some kind of figure form that doesn't cost an absolute fortune, because like actual figure manufacturers love making this attire like really expensive, usually an exclusive, etc. Okay, so we've got Kane, got the WWE team ability, 100 points or 60 points. We've got the LE bronze symbol there, of course, and he's number 14 in the set. Okay, so we're going to just leave him there to look pretty, and we'll get into the card. So we're just going to put him off to the side there, and then we'll get into the card next. So the first thing you see on the card is one of the reasons why I think I'm going to play this guy a lot. This guy has a lot of keywords. Authority, Corporation, WWE. I mean, WWE is obviously shared by all of them. I doubt Authority or Corporation are great keywords, but I guess we'll see. But the point is, we've got 3 keywords there already, and then we've got 3 generic keywords, which are Monster, which is better for some people than others. Like, if you can afford to get all these, like, Monster chases and stuff, Captain Venom and the like, you're going to have a better Monster team, but it's definitely not a bad keyword in any way. Mystical, which is still, in my opinion, the best generic keyword in the game. And Politician, which is certainly not bad. It's not fantastic. Obviously, usually people with Politician keywords, it's difficult to actually make a team out of them, because it's usually just like support pieces. But yeah, you know, we got a brick for the team here, I guess, so you know, you could try that. Okay, so then we'll get into his powers. So we got signature move, Choke Slam. Close. If Kane has 1 action token and hasn't been moved or placed this turn, slam. When he uses it, modify his damage plus X, where X is the amount your attack total exceeded the hit character's defense total. Now that's very, very interesting, because it means if you get a good dice roll, you're going to get +3 to your damage quite easily. And Kane's damage is never below a 3 anyway, so that's going to be pretty good. Obviously, you're quite limited on whether he's been moved or placed, but I mean, you're just going to have to play around that. Obviously, they had to have some kind of restriction to this because it is a very powerful ability. And I remember I was thinking the other day, I was thinking about President Osborne, who also has the politician keyword. And if he picks Kane as his bodyguard, he can modify 2 of his combat values +1. If he puts the +1 on his attack, he technically puts it on his damage as well. And that excess +1 isn't wasted because it'll do +1 damage. Obviously, if you only roll the exact result of the character's defense value, then you don't get the +1 to your damage. But I mean, I feel like that's a fair thing, and I'd rather put the other +1 onto his defense and technically get 3 +1s out of it than put it straight onto his damage. That being said, you know, you could put +1 on his attack and +1 on his damage, and then it's technically like +2 on his damage. I mean, you know, whatever you want to do. I think this guy is, you know, he's got potential in terms of like buffing his stats. Anyway, next trait we've got Big Guy, which is again, the WWE figures aren't using the Giants symbol, including on Andre. So again, we've just got this Big Guy trait. Giant Reach 2. Kane can't be knocked back or given action tokens by opposing effects. Finally, we have this power action, Fiery Posts. Choose up to 4 opposing characters within 6 squares that are adjacent to 2+ ropes. Now, it's going to be very difficult to get many of them in that sort of position, but the nice thing is, he can do it if they're there. And make a close attack targeting all of them regardless of adjacency. Each hit character is dealt 2 penetrating instead of normal damage. Now that could have been 1 penetrating and it still probably would have been pretty good. The major downside to this in my opinion is that you need to buy the mixed match starter, which is a bit expensive to be honest. If you're not actually interested in the starter and you just want the ring, it's a bit expensive. Obviously if you can get the ring on its own, that would be cool. I managed to get the mixed match starter quite cheap in the end on eBay. Not really sure. If you watch my other videos on these two guys, I'm not really sure how I've been able to get this stuff so cheap. But yeah, I found a seller that was selling it really cheap, so I bought the mixed match starter there. So we do have that, but it's a bit of a shame because obviously without that we can't even use this power. However, the good news about that is he only has it on 1 click, so the figure isn't exactly designed around this power. So now we're looking at the dial. For 100 points for me, he could do with a bit better in terms of damage reducers, but he does have 9 clicks in him. He does have the 2 invulnerabilities, but they are in the middle, so to be honest, you could quite easily, since you're starting off with toughness, you could quite easily get knocked past them completely. His 100 point dial doesn't amaze me in any way. I mean, it's quite average, if not sort of below average for 100 points nowadays. The combat values are there, but he's not really doing an awful lot. I think mostly relying on that Fiery Post ability to do something big to start the game off. For this 100 point dial to really be worth anything, it's not for me, but that certainly doesn't mean it's fully bad in any way, or that, you know, it necessarily doesn't work for someone else. The other thing that makes me think that Kane is going to get used by me on a lot of teams, bearing in mind all of these keywords, is his 60 point dial, because it's very cheap. This isn't super strength in the middle, of course. This is the WWE power reversal, which is interesting in its own right, but we've essentially got a brick with probability control for 60 points, which is very interesting. And then when you think about the fact that you can splash it on any WWE team, any monster team, any mystical team, to get some both prob on there and a decent hitter, it can be quite rare to get sort of like tough people and close combat people on mystical. Obviously we've got the choke slam, so although Kane isn't really doing anything in terms of sort of offensive powers, there's no super strength, there's no close combat expert, there's nothing like that, but he does have that choke slam going for him, so you know, he does have things he can do. Because of that, I think the 60 point dial is really good, and I think that's going to make him very, very usable. I've actually already came up with a team that uses these 3, I think it's these 3, Mankind and the WWE ring, with Eddie Guerrero and Kane on their low point dial. It's a very interesting team, yeah. So I think that's more or less everything I want to say about this figure. Apart from, one thing I will say is I kind of wish this guy did have some super strength. I don't think anyone in the entire set has super strength, but it would have been nice if they gave it to Kane. I mean, he was actually like such a strong guy, you know. I think there's definitely superheroes who, if they were real people, couldn't lift things that Kane could lift, you know. There are a couple of superheroes that, you know, having super strength is a bit generous on their Heroclix, but it is what it is. Still, overall, I think this is a really good figure. Again, if you liked this video and you'd like to see more of these openings, we got Andre the Giant and Eddie Guerrero already done and up on the channel, and I've got the mixed match starter to come, and I've also got the Rock and Sock Connection starter to come as well. Thank you for watching, and goodbye.